Okay, you guys ready for some magic? You wonder, like, what was that? What's going on? Oh my god, is he hacking his PS3? Oh my god, is this guy a miracle worker? Is he hacking the PS3? No, folks. No, I'm not. What I'm doing is actually just restarting my computer. My computer that's the size of a credit card, actually. My desktop computer that's the size of a credit card. Yep, indeed. That computer is called the Raspberry Pi. Sounds good, doesn't it? And here's the operating system. So, graphic user interface. Looks something like Windows, doesn't it? But it's not. It's Linux based. And here's the actual star right here. The Raspberry Pi itself. Yes. And all this delicious goodness. So let's talk about the key components that you want to know about. The top two are for the display, but those are for the older displays, if you will, old-fashioned displays, audio and video. But we don't need such things because we live in an age where we just have one cable for both things, so you know. But it's good to always cover all bases just in case you run into something you might need to use the old school for. And as you can see, those little pins sticking up in parallel rows, in two rows right here, parallel. That is where you would put, you know, ribbon cables and something like that. Oh man, am I tired. And to the left, that little black square, or should I say rectangle, and I say rectangle for good reason, is the SD card, which functions as the hard drive for the actual mini computer. And that little black rectangle right there is where you see the CE on the right of it. That's just another part of the attachment for the SD card. So that's part of the device. Man, am I tired. Life of a techie ain't easy. You gotta stay up all night and deal with tech issues and helping people. But moving on, as you can see right here, well, it's invisible because it's like black as hell. Where you see that little silver square with four little prongs, or four little screws, if you will. That would be where the power cable is connected to. Let's see if I can't flip it up. Yeah, power cable. And of course, you see that little circle right there. That's just where, you know, if you're using a screw, hold something in place to hold the actual computer in place. And this is where the HDMI cable would be attached to the HDMI port right there. And this little square right here, as I said before, is the CPU. Don't forget that, CPU. And this is non-exchangeable, so I don't think you can just exchange it. And of course, just about looking at this cable on the right of it, you can already guess, hey, well, you know, here's a little cable attached to it. It looks like an Ethernet cable. Well, you know it is. It's an Ethernet port. This can go on the internet. Yes, folks, I do not bullshit you. This little mini computer can go on the internet, and you can actually, with the right plugins, watch movies and write and do almost anything. But don't get confused, folks. You cannot use this as a replacement for a powerhouse computer that you build from scratch with these powerful components and hard pieces of hardware. So don't get that twisted, folks. And this is where the USB is right here. There's two USB ports that is. And that little square that looks like it's attached to something silvery, that would be my wireless adapter for my wireless keyboard and mouse. Yes, the wireless keyboard and mouse are going to one receiver, one wireless receiver. Yes. And of course, these lights signify that the power is on and that I'm connected to an Ethernet cable, and so on and so forth. Now, enough of the hardware. Well, let's look at the back of it. Well, we'll look at the back of it. Not much to look at. Oh God, don't break on me. See? SD card. And my hand is starting to burn. Ouch, ouch, ouch. This is very hot. And we're looking at the Raspberry Pi itself. And this is on my PS 3D display, or my Sony PlayStation display. Oh yeah. Gotta represent Sony, you know what I'm saying? Even though I won't buy myself a PS4 because I don't find the need for it right now. And I got my mouse to work for it, and this is the Pi Store. Think of it as the Google Play Store, where you can actually make apps or make programs yourself and get some profit out of it. And you know, it says Debian, but I can't believe I can't let you see that. Wow. Let's try to make sure you guys can see this. As I said before, that's the Pi Store. If you see right here, that's the Pi Store. As I said just a second ago, where you can actually make sell programs, download programs, and so on and so forth, and you can do it for profit. This is just if you want to get into programming on this. The Debian reference, well, I'm just going to say the word Debian for one reason. Debian is a reference to Linux. So yes, that means that this is another piece of Linux. Yes, indeed, it's another piece of Linux. And if you don't know what Linux is, and you're a techie, you should know what Linux is. Linux is a Unix-based operating system that gave rise to what we now know as the Android operating system. So without Linux, there would be no Android. And if you really want to do research on Linux, go to linux.com, not linux.org. Linux.org sucks. I repeat, linux.org sucks. Go to linux.com and you can get a lot of information. And of course you can play Python games in Python. Just to put that out there, Python is another programming language, which is useful for many reasons, but I don't want to get into it right now because that's a long discussion, so moving on. And Scratch is for the people who are, how we say, brain dead at programming and they want to actually grow on. Let me not say it like that. It's for people who actually want to, who are unfamiliar with the realm of programming, especially on this, and they want to get into it. Me, I don't need that, so I'm good. And of course, this is your, your little start button right here. This little, I don't know, looks like a little jet or a little hawk or whatever. I don't know. That's your start button. And this is sort of like Windows. So if you're familiar with Windows, you can get used to this really quickly. File manager, you know what that is. Of course, manage your files, web browser. And then this tells me to left click to iconify all windows, which I don't feel like doing right now because there's no point. And desktop 1 and desktop 2, meaning that you can actually have your laptop, or let's not say laptop, but your desktop computer, and have it connected to the actual Raspberry Pi and have this, attached to it in a sense. And have two desktops, one small, one big. Yeah, that works. And the time is incorrect because I didn't set it. But this right here, this bottom right section where you see the waves with the green waves, that would be where the CPU is being, the test manager for the CPU. So let's put it that way. And of course, you have your little screen lock and your log out button over here. Can't see that. Let's move it closer. Log out, screen lock, right here, and then log out. Logout works the same thing as shutdown. So I click logout, give it a second, it says logout LXDE session, shutdown, reboot, logout, cancel. Same thing. If I click on the start button, oh, didn't click on it. There we go. Clicked on it now. It says accessories, education. That's if you want to educate yourself on how to use this thing and how to program on it. Then you have your graphics. Then you have the internet. And then you have other, well, stop moving. You have all these other little things like Pi Store, Nano, NetSurf Web, all these little other apps, if you will, and things. Of course, you have a calculator. And then you have VidTune, all these other things that you can do and use. And there's the programming stuff. Like I said, remember I said about programming? IDLE, IDLE 3, Scratch and Squeak. I don't know why they use Scratch and Squeak. I mean, I think of Squeak, I think of a mouse, I think of Scratch, I think of a cat. And I remember that stupid wannabe Tom and Jerry thing on The Simpsons called the Itchy and Scratchy show. So, yeah. And let's see, let's go on the internet. What app do I want to use to go on the internet? Should I use? I know for a second I thought that said dildo, but I know that people are not that stupid to write that down. Dillo. And let's do NetSurf browse. And let's see how that app works. So here's the NetSurf browser. Now we have, I gotta do something, of course, people like Street Fighter. I love Street Fighter. But I also like other fighting games. I like King of Fighters 13. I like Virtua Fighter 5. That's, in my opinion, the best 3D fighting game because it requires so much skill to play. And then there's other fighting games like Melty Blood. Oh, I remember the time when I used to play that in the arcade. Whew. Now, that game's a real finger burner. But anyways, let's go take a look at the possibilities of going to the internet and see how that works out. So, if I can just reach my keyboard. Okay, and I don't even have my mouse on this thing. Hold up. Yep, the cursor's on there. Let's back up a little bit. There you go. I'm moving my camera down. You can't even see anything. So we're gonna do short. Wow. And let's see how this rolls. Fetching, processing, and get information. So, like I said, this thing's a little slow, so give it time, and it will get the actual website. And you notice there's no problems with the images at all. Isn't that grand? And it's on a little credit card. So if you have a computer that's bigger than this, having problems with the plugins for the website, then you, sir, have a problem. And speaking of computers, if there's another person out there who says they can't afford a computer, they must be out their damn mind. This thing is $35. And I'm not kidding you. This thing is $35. If you are smart enough, you can actually do some homework on this thing. So let's see what we want to look at. We want to look at combo vid. Now I cannot watch a video on this yet because I need the plugins for it because, well, this thing's a little small, so it needs a little help. But that can be acquired at a later date. And I just hit desktop too like an idiot. I changed my window. So yes, that's different windows, but you can use this along with your regular desktop if you know how to hook it up properly. And if you go to the website where I got my tool from, my Raspberry Pi, let me see, the website is called Element 14. You can get a boatload of other peripherals that could be attached to this to where you can, I don't know, make some kind of customary security for your home, in-home security, or whatever you want, or whatever. You can also get a camera with this too. So if you want to be a wannabe James Bond scientist or whatever, then hey, you can do that. Like I said, this is slow, but it's a lot better than those old school computers from 1990. But I'll cut this video short because I'm tired. I have class at 9 o'clock in the morning in Manhattan, and I really need to get my sleep. Well, I'll be getting out on the bus. But yeah, time to cut this off. So I'm going to cut this off. And the one thing about this thing is that it has no power on switch. The power on switch is when you plug it in and hook it up. That's the power on switch. But you can turn it up the normal way, which is by doing the log out and then going to shutdown. And keep in mind, this will be hot, so if you don't have a case on it, you might hurt yourself a little bit. So we go to shutdown. Oh my god, my Raspberry Pi is shutting down. I don't know if I can turn it back on. And you should see some codes when you pop this thing back on. So that's Raspberry Pi in a nutshell. Good night.